Welcome back everybody, and thank you for joining me. Excuse me. This is Midweek Mystery. This is where I show you whatever I happen to have been working on this week. And you know, right now what's on my desk are these really cute little boxes. And these boxes hold a little bit of a secret because these are accordion photo boxes. And it looks, as I say, just like a little box from the outside, but when you open it up, it is like a little photo album. I don't know whether you can see all of that. Now, I got the idea from a book I borrowed from the library recently, and they had made the accordion box. And I will link, I'll find the book and link all the details below. But basically, they had made it as a little book in a box. So I was fiddling about and making these, and I thought, wow, wouldn't this be such a cool idea to use as a little photo album? And we recently spent a few days in Auckland, which is one of our bigger cities here in New Zealand. And I thought, what a great way to have a little memento of our trip and of some of the things we did in a little box. And you can stand this up like this, so you can imagine standing that on a desk or on a bookshelf, and you'd be able to see the photos, or you know, you can tuck it away and it just looks like a little box. So as I say, I was playing around and I made this as a memento of our trip away, and then I thought, gosh, you know, these would be lovely gifts to give to people. And I know it's September, but you know, you need to start thinking about about Christmas and things. But also, we have Father's Day coming up here this month. And so I made one with this wood print scrapbook card. And I thought, wouldn't this be lovely to give, you know, as a Father's Day gift? You know, men sometimes I find difficult to buy for. Now, as you can see, I haven't finished this one off yet. Sadly, we lost my father 3 years ago, but you know, wouldn't this be a lovely gift for a man? You know, a grandfather, you know, with some great photos in. You could turn it into a fishing journal for him, or a hunting book, or pictures of the grandchildren, whatever you wanted really. Or again, you know, a holiday memento. So where I'm going to go today is to show you how to make these. They're dead simple, and I think they have multiple uses. Okay, I'm going to make a slightly different one. As you can see, I've got some floral paper here. This is scrapbook paper. I don't know whether I've got a weight for this. Let me have a quick look. No, it doesn't say. It feels, you know, it's thin card. I'm going to do one with flowers on, because I think this is the kind of thing my mum would really like. So I'm going to try one with a slightly more feminine pattern. Now, you need 2 pieces of A4 paper, so letter size. I've chosen for this one, so for the wooden one the wood one you saw here, I used the same paper. I had 2 pieces the same. For this one, I'm going to use contrasting paper, or complementary paper, I think is probably a better word. Things that go together in a way that pleases you. All right, so 2 A4 pieces. Now, the piece that you want to be the outside of your box, you need to cut into a square. Now, A4 paper is 21 centimetres or 8 1/4 inches. So I'm going to turn that round, cut the square. Keep this bit because it will be your lid. So 8 1/4, and then take your ruler and just lightly on the back mark from corner to corner. Now you can do it without these pencil marks, but I just find it helps me get a little bit more accurate, because what we're going to do then is to take each corner and fold into the middle. And if you have a bone folder or back of your scissors, crease each fold as you go. Keeping those folds there, you're then going to fold into the middle again across the square, if that makes sense. Turn it round, into the middle, try and keep your edges nicely lined up. And then you're going to unfold, turn it round and do the same the other way. And you're going to unfold two sides so that it looks like this. Now with your scissors you will see you have a score line here, and I will draw this in for you. This score line here, so you've got two of the squares on either side. So with the point towards you, those two lines there, you're going to cut. So you're just cutting along those folds, and then you're going to turn it right round so that the other point is towards you, and do exactly the same thing. Now, you can do this without glue. I have found, particularly when you're doing it with card, I have found it better to use just a little bit of glue. Now, you can use anything you like. My glue stick is right at the end, so I'm using this one today. And you're going to glue down those two triangles on either side that you've just cut. So, and you're going to glue this big triangle down. Okay. Show you on the other side. You're going to do the two little triangles. And you'll see I'm creasing these as well. And the big triangle. Now you don't need to be too fussy, you just need, the glue just helps to hold them all down. Okay, now the next thing to do is where you glued those little triangles, you now have a square on each side. And you want to fold those in and give them a good crease. So there we go. Okay, now this is the slightly tricky bit. You need to hold this piece up and you're going to fold the ends in, just like that. Again, hold the sides, fold, hold the end in. Now again, I have found it beneficial just to put a little bit of glue on the triangle, and if you want to, along those two edges. It just helps to hold the box together sturdily. And as you can see, I'm not using a lot. I'm just squeezing those corners slightly. And there you go. That's all there is to it. There is your box base. Now, what you will find if you've used the A4 size, this scrap that you had left is the right size to be able to make a lid. Now, you can do this in two ways. You will see with this first one that I did, I've left the lid slightly bigger, so it's overlapping. With this one, it's more fitted, and that's purely personal preference. So, turn your paper over. I'm going to do this one about there. So it's good to give yourself just a little bit of extra. Oh. So that one's coming out round about 3 1/8 inch. So I'm going to cut that, turn it again so that it's square. 3 1/8. There we go. And I'm going to cut a second one the same size. So this is the same piece of paper. And these two pieces are going to form my lid. Now, how you decorate these is entirely up to you. You will see on this one I've put a button. On this one I have a little brad and some decoration. So before you stick these together to make your lid, think about what you want to do to decorate them. And to form that little, you know, it's nice to have a little button or something to lift them up with. So I'm going to go and find something to achieve that, and we'll come back. Okay, I was looking for a little bit of green ribbon, but you know, in all my bits and pieces I don't have a piece the same green colour. So I found this, which I thought picked up the little pink on this pattern nicely. And so what I'm going to do is just take the outside piece of my lid, and I have found the middle point, and I have marked a line which is about the same width as my ribbon. And I'm going to use my craft knife and my ruler, and I'm just going to cut that mark as a slit. Now this is the last piece of this ribbon, and I think it's going to be just about big enough to do what I want to do. So I'm actually just going to measure it around the outside of the box. I'll leave a little bit of an overlap, which is going to take me to there. And this piece that is left over, I'm going to fold, let's put that there for a moment. I'm going to fold in half. And I'm going to carefully poke through, and before I do that, I'm just going to get rid of the pencil marks. because that's going to be easier to do. Right, let's go back again. Fold your ribbon in half and just carefully poke it through that slit. Pull it through on the other side. And then just with a bit of masking tape, I'm going to do what you would do with a split pin, and I'm going to fold one piece back to one side and one piece back to the other side, and that's just going to reduce the bulk. Make sure that's all nice and flat. There we go. And there you have your little handle for lifting the lid. Right, so what I'm going to do now is to stick these two pieces together to make the lid, and then I'm going to ink all around the edge of the lid and the box as I've done on this one. Alright guys, there you go. That is your basic box. And as you'll see, I went around the edge with a little bit of golding. That's entirely personal preference. And I've also added that scrap of ribbon I had was long enough to go around the edge as well as on the top. That again, personal preference to how you want to decorate your box. This first one I added a scrap of contrasting paper around the edge, but as I say, entirely up to you. So there's your box. Now let's do the accordion. I would always say measure, because I've made a few of these now and they do sometimes turn out slightly different. Now that one has come out at 3 inches, which is about average when you use a piece of A4. So you want to take about 1/8 of an inch off whatever size your box is. And the reason I'm telling you this rather than just giving you the measurements is that you can make these with any size square piece of paper. You know, if you're using a 12 by 12, you'll get a bigger box and you'll need a second piece to make the lid. But so measure your box and take off about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go 2 7/8. So this is where your second piece of paper comes in. And whatever that measurement is, you're going to cut 2 strips. So what did I say, 2 7/8. There's one. I'm going to turn this piece of paper around because I want the interesting bits of the paper. Let's have a look. Now you can't quite get 3, but you get 2 strips. Now before we go any further, double check that they do fit into your box. Yes, they do. Okay. So now you can do this with a ruler, or if you've got a scoreboard, you can use the scoreboard. Now, as you can see, I've only got a little scoreboard, but I'm going to score them so that they are square. So whatever the measurement was that you cut at, you need to score at the same. So I cut at 2 7/8, so I'm going to score at 2 7/8. Now, as I say, this is only a tiny scoreboard. Really probably ought to treat myself to a slightly bigger one. But you know, it's about working with what you've got. And as you will see, I'm turning the paper each time I score, because we're wanting those accordion folds. Now that has come out exactly the right length. So we take our second strip and do exactly the same. Weird. Let's check that last one again. Now take your 2 strips, and on each of those score lines make your fold and burnish them down, and just carry on folding, making sure that you're keeping your edges straight. Okay, once you have folded your accordion pages, you want to join them. Now, depending on the size box you're making and the size pieces of paper you have to cut your accordion, you may find that you have a slight overlap here, which is great. You can just use a bit of glue and make a little overlap. This one has folded exactly to the right sizes, and so what you can do then is use a little bit of washi tape and I do like to just put a little bit of glue down each side, and you can make this a feature of the finished. Okay, and you just want to line those pieces of card up. And you're basically, in effect, you're making a little hinge. Now, just for strength, I like to turn over and do exactly the same on the back. Crease that. So there we go, you have your accordion pages to go in your box. Now this one is going to glue into the bottom of your box, and this one is going to glue onto your lid. Now what you will see is, if you look inside this one, I put a little mat underneath because the two pieces of paper were the same. And so I put a little mat underneath just to give a little bit of a border around there. But that's entirely up to you. What should I do on this one? Okay, this one I didn't, but I inked the edges of this. So this one is a complementary paper, so I perhaps, you know, it really is personal preference, whether you put a mat underneath or not. I'm just thinking, let's see if I've got a little bit of a pink scrap, and we'll add a bit of pink in there. Okay, I found a little bit of pink, and I've cut this to 3 inches square, so this will just fit on there and give me the tiniest border. So I'm going to glue this on. And if you're using a glue that gives you just a little bit of wiggle room, you're able to get that as straight as possible in the right place. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with this. Now I think I'm going to ink the edges of this before I stick that down, so I will do that and come back. Okay, I've inked that up, so now I'm going to do exactly the same on my first page. Glue, and this is a tricky bit. You position this. I'm trying to do this without my head being in the way. Again, you're positioning it so that you're just getting that tiny little bit of border there. And as I say, this is optional, just adds a little bit of interest. Now, what you then do is glue here and into the bottom of the box. I would suggest decorating these pages first before you glue them in, just because it makes it easier. I'm not going to do this one today. I'm just going to show you that really is the finished article. It is as easy as that. But look, how effective is this? And you can imagine some pretty pictures on here, some pictures of the grandchildren. My mother would love it. You can pull it out, you can stand it up, you can pop it on your bookshelf, and you can fold it away again. And as I've done with this one, if you want to decorate the lid, the sides, that's entirely up to you, personal preference. I found this little ticket that came with the paper pack that I've been using. You know, it might be nice to put something like that on there. You don't have to use this for photos. You could put little pockets in. You could turn this into a mini junk journal even. If you wanted to do it double-sided, you could do that too, particularly if you had double-sided paper. You know, the world is your oyster. And as I often say, you are limited only by your imagination. So there you go, guys. That is what is on my desk this week. For the midweek mystery, we are making little boxes. I hope that's been inspirational for you. I'd love to know what you do with them if you have a go, and see some photos. You are welcome to go over to my Facebook page and share photos there if you would like to. But for now, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you again soon. Ka kite anō.